So trust us when we tell you that the masking of abuses is perhaps this country's oldest institution. And I know nothing nobler than facing it in honor of the truth when you know that the people holding power have been neutralizing truth since there was wet ink on the Constitution. So know that Tara's truth is something crucial to the movement. And if you see yourself a partner to the revolution, help this country see through all the baseless propaganda through the crux of Joe's illusions. And recognize that Tara Reid gave everything she had so she could tell us what the truth is. Recognize the decent thing to do when someone bares their soul and shows their bruises is not to ask for context or offer up your own solutions. Your job is just to listen with an honest mind and put yourself on Tara's side a moment so you understand the path she chooses. That there is no instant fame worth the dragging of your name. And if that's what you think, you've a lot to learn about the kind of facts the mob can handle and the kind that it refuses. You've a lot to learn about the news and all its many uses. Guess you've yet to learn the truth the news will serve as fruit from which they've squeezed out all the juices. And we all eat the husk and just pretend it's full of nutrients and isn't really useless. But the jaws of our ability to yield accountability are absolutely toothless. So don't you kid yourself that any lips are being loosened. They won't ever tell us where the bodies are or show us where the proof is. It's on you to recognize the lechery our president so regularly oozes. It's on you to muster up some honesty and ask yourself how Biden won your trust, but it's America that loses. Open up your eyes and learn to recognize the bruises. Open up your eyes and learn to recognize the bruises.
When you are not with where majority of Americans are, then, that is extreme. That is an extreme way of thinking.
Set you free, but I really want to let you be. And a part of me wished I could set myself aside, just let you take the ride, just chalk the rest up to destiny. I could let you believe that the only restraints in life are the size of your dreams. Let you believe each kid grows up with the world at their feet. When I know too well it's open season, I know they're taking stock and raising stocks and raising stock. And I'm simply not here to sit and watch as you learn the lesson all cogs are taught. Keep your head down and keep to task and just keep on blocking the rest of it all out. Just keep on with the rest of the herd of a million adjacent oblivious workers. The forest unseen for the trees, and the trees unseen for the fallout. Now what's more damning, baby, the truth or the ignorance? Fuck it, I honestly wonder if I see the answer so well. Baby, believe me well, I know it's scary, I scare myself. If I could find a way out of my head, I would run like hell. I would ditch this body politic, mindless occupant somewhere far from the dismal abyss. In the tranquil crystalline bliss of the beach, I could rest with the rest of the shells. And if anyone asks, I'm anywhere else. If I'm really needed, just light the candle, then read the book and then ring the bell. Oh, my untarnished heart, my little perfect soul, this world will melt your mercy down so they can sell its gold. This world will take your worth and then demand 1,000-fold. It's full of greedy pigs who'll eat you out of house and home. They'll strip your bank account and sweep you somewhere down the road, and then return to eat your tent and shitty bike you rode. Your bottled water, only shoes and coat and broken phone. Then smiling in your face, they'll tell you that the shelter's closed.
Why you do this, OBS? Explain yourself.
If anyone knows, if anyone's a techie with OBS and understands why it does that, from
My
time
OBS
to
just
time,
crashes randomly.
yes.
Like, it can sit through 9 hours of being on all day, and then...
maybe that's a problem. It's on 9 hours a day.
Well, like, I still reset everything before we, like... I shut everything down. Like, I got a whole pre-flight. It's still just like, I give up. And then sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's fine. I can get through a whole 3-hour Tara stream and it's fine. Anyway, we had other stories. I had to go all the way back to the front to go over stuff. Hopefully people are back.
If not, then
I can also maybe...
I wouldn't say
over,
this
probably
isn't as important, but the more prominent thing we did record, fortunately.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alex and Jenna from from East Palestine.
Yeah.
Who were here just a few minutes ago to talk about just giving us an update on the organization and then the residences of the town, and talking about their summit that they are planning to have next weekend. So definitely look for more information on that on our Twitter at GetIndie News. But yeah, as Reef said, we have a couple more stories that we want to get to before we close out for the night.
So yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about the derailment spree that we kind of mentioned a little bit in our first couple segments with United for EP. And Biden's budget got released. And I have an article that kind of breaks some of that down. I figured that was... You think there's money for support for East Palestine in there, you think? What do you think? Okay.
No.
Well, might as well get started. Here we are.
By the way, if you guys,
Go ahead.
If you guys hear a dog, no, it's not mine. My neighbors upstairs just got a new puppers. So.
Oh, puppers. I had to let mine out.
You might be hearing in case.
But anyway, so we touched on it a bit earlier with United for EP, but there's been a spree of derailments and factory accidents, and really just corporate infrastructure is also failing, as well as public infrastructure. And the conjuncture between the two is killing us. So, but I brought a article from Common Dreams by Kenny Stansel, right? Derailment spree proves railway regulations urgently needed, say union members. Who would have thunk? These companies siphon billions into share buybacks, dividends, and bonuses rather than into the vital maintenance and infrastructure growth we need to build a safe, modern, and thriving rail industry, said one worker. They tried to go on strike, didn't they? What happened with that?
There's scabs in office. Well, Congress, rather, but...
So this was on April 3rd. After at least 6 major freight train derailments occurred across the United States over the past week, the need for stronger rail safety rules couldn't be clearer. An inter-union alliance of rail workers said Monday the recent uptick in...
1 second. Have you heard any of these derailments? I
Well,
think I may have
yeah,
heard maybe one, but
one or
like
two.
I didn't know there was 6.
Yeah, yeah. As well as the barges that got pushed up against the like dam works above Louisville on the Ohio River that was carrying like 1,400 tons of methanol. That was kind of an issue. But yeah, like a lot of corporate infrastructure and corporate structuring causing accidents. So the recent uptick in derailments across the U.S. highlights the dire need for stricter regulations on the length and weight of trains. There is a ProPublica article out that I actually suggest people go look at. It's long, so I didn't bring it with us, but it's got like animations and stuff and explanations for exactly what he's talking about here. But weight of trains, as well as focus on preventing unsafe operational practices such as precision scheduled railroading, which prioritizes short-term financial gains for Wall Street over the safety of communities and railroad workers. Jason Doring, a locomotive engineer and general secretary of Railroad Workers United. So they said in a statement, and I think that statement was like over at Truthout or one of those as well. But this past week was not a good one for the nation's Class 1 rail carriers. RWU observed on Sunday, March 26th, the Canadian Pacific train carrying hazardous materials careened off the tracks outside Windmere, North Dakota, spilling liquid asphalt and ethylene glycol and releasing propylene vapor. Last Monday, a Union Pacific iron ore train reached 118 miles per hour, which is nothing for a train that size and weight, as it ran away down Kima Hill in the Mojave Desert before wrecking on a curve, destroying 2 locomotives and 55 cars in San Bernardino County, California. On Wednesday, Canadian National Iron Ore train derailed in Butler County, Pennsylvania. On Thursday, a BNSF train carrying ethanol and corn syrup crashed near Raymond, Minnesota, causing a fire that forced local residents to flee. On Friday, a Norfolk Southern train went that does sound went off the tracks in Irondale, Alabama. One day ago, a train operated by the Class 2 Regional Montana Rail Link, soon to be owned by BNSF, derailed on the banks of the Clark Fork River in Paradise, Montana. The recent uptick in derailments across the U.S. highlights the dire need for stricter regulations on the length and weight of trains, as well as a focus on preventing unsafe operational practices such as precision scheduled railroading. Anything to add so far, Collin?
No.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's just the idea of like, have you heard this in mainstream media? No.
Fuck no.
And even with independent media, I haven't heard much of this either. So
we ain't found shit, as that
right.
scene in Spaceballs would have you to believe. So each year, these companies, so rail workers are not surprised to see the dramatic increase in rail incidents following the widespread cuts to the industry, said locomotive engineer and RW steering committee member Paul Lindsay. Each year, these companies siphon billions into share buybacks, dividends, and bonuses rather than into the vital maintenance and infrastructure growth we need to grow a safe and modern and thriving rail industry, Lindsay added. Norfolk Southern has become the poster child for freight industry greed as the toxic aftermath of February's fiery train derailment, ensuing chemical spill, and burnout continues to unfold in East Palestine, Ohio. Questioned last month at a U.S. Senate hearing about the ongoing public health and environmental disaster, Norfolk Southern President and CEO Alan Shaw refused to commit to giving workers 7 days of paid sick leave or halting stock buybacks. We've also covered how that's also just bullshit at the base level. Their original ask was what?
20.
Bernie then said 10. This guy says 7. You are getting haggled hard. Like, They've got you
Again,
down to 50%.
well,
Less
again, as
than.
I say, people from the West need to go to like the Middle East or anywhere in the global South for that matter and learn how to haggle.
Yeah.
Actually, I think our politicians should let go and do that.
So,
Uh,
More Perfect Union has calculated that payouts to Norfolk Southern shareholders soared more than 45,000% over the past 20 years, from 101 million in stock repurchases and dividend bumps to in 2002, 4.7 billion.
nope.
You didn't hear it, but they did.
Oh, I want to hear it.
You want to hear it? Okay,
Yes.
I'll fix it.
Ah, can be just the people in the chat have all the fun, especially since you were tuning up for it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
See, we do
Plus, I'm
stuff
sure
here,
people wouldn't mind hearing it twice. So,
right? So yeah, dude, 4.7 billion. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, Shaw also refused to commit to ending PSR, the profit maximizing scheduling system that forces fewer workers to manage longer trains in less time. Even though unions and progressive lawmakers, who are those? Argue the
yeah.
Wall Street endorsed, that's almost an oxymoron. You know, Wall Street endorsed model makes the U.S. rail system more dangerous and contributes to the 1,500 plus derailments seen nationwide each year. So their infrastructure is done. It's gone.
Right.
Is what it sounds like, and they don't want to put any money into it.
It's infrastructure just on a whole. I think especially like with transportation as a whole in this country. Like, look at New York City. Like,
Yeah.
shit.
Look at Japan. Look at
Right.
like Europe.
Right. I would argue
managed to-
Europe is kind of meh, but like even so, like their infrastructure is way better than ours.
Yeah.
But like, but again, I think it's the idea of, we're a car-centric country. Like
Yeah.
we value cars versus, I would argue, any other transportation. That
So
we use.
although Norfolk Southern epitomizes how railroad executives prioritize profit above all else, the corporation is far from alone in pushing for deregulation and implementing anti-worker, pro-investor policies. An open secrets analysis published last month found that the rail industry spent more than $713 million lobbying against enhanced rail safety rules at the federal and state levels between 2002 and 2022. Top spenders, including the Association of American Railroads Trade Group, CSX, Union Pacific, Norfolk Southern, and BNSF parent company Berkshire Hathaway, which is owned by billionaire Warren Buffett. While RWU has made the case for nationalizing the railroads, it has also outlined a plan for reforms that could be quickly implemented in the absence of such a sweeping transformation. Specific provisions the alliance has called for, including sufficient staffing, limits on train length and weight, adequate maintenance and inspections, and better training and employee benefits. I mean, whole hog, baby. Go for that nationalizing. Don't even worry about that other stuff. Just do the first thing. Then do the other stuff. It'll be way easier after that. So, anyway, last week, Senator John Fetterman, Bob Casey, and Sherrod Brown introduced the Railway Accountability Act, which includes some of the measures sought by RWU and is supported by unions, including the Transport Workers of America, the National Conference of Firemen and Oilers, and the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers, Mechanical Division. So, in case people were wondering, I have a feeling that's going to be real slim pickings.
Well, especially now since the House is Republican majority now, so that's not going to go anywhere. I mean, at least they're on record. You could argue for trying this, but again, this should have been done back in December,
Yeah.
honestly. Well, honestly, then, and we love the RWU here, but they should have gone on strike anyway, or at least made the attempt to,
Mm.
just so they're able to get a little more provisions or at least a little more attention, because they're more or less an afterthought now. So,
Yep. Well, speaking of afterthoughts, this guy, Joseph Biden, Joseph,
Come on, man.
like, he had a budget that got announced. Colin, you see this? You see this budget?
I did not see this, so per usual, I'm going blind. So
Okay.
I'm curious to see the shit show this is going to be.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Will I laugh though?
Molly Rosenweig over at Left Voice, says Biden's proposed budget is nothing but empty promises. This is Left Voice. These are the opinions of Molly. I know, huh?
How dare you?
But earlier this month, Joe Biden announced his budget proposals with a lot of promises. But the only thing we know he'll deliver is that nothing will fundamentally change. Bravo. Just stop the article there. We're good. Everything we need to know there. Right. We'll dive in a little deeper.
Let's get into the details though.
So, March 9th, day after my birthday, Joe Biden announced his budget plan for fiscal year 2024. Not much of it is likely to pass since there's a slim majority by Republicans in the House, and much of it is in preparation for the 2024 election. He proposed many social programs and tax increases on the wealthy, many things which he didn't even fight for when Democrats controlled both the House and Senate. Biden likely made these proposals because he knows they won't pass.
Okay.
Like, okay, sure. I'm glad we're not the only ones saying it now. He touts the paltry thing he was able to pass and continues to promote his rose-colored outlook and some elements of economic populism, similar to what he pushed at the State of the Union, though with continuing low approval ratings. We can be sure that the many workers and oppressed realize that the rosy picture is far from reality. You fucking think? Like, what? As for making the rich pay their fair share, his proposals include a billionaire minimum tax, which would impose a tax of at least 25% on those with more than 100 million in wealth, as well as an increased corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%.
Nope.
He ain't getting that. Like, that's not something he's getting.
Nope.
Which doesn't even go back to the 35% rate that was in place before 2017. He also proposes raising taxes on foreign earnings for U.S. multinationals, and eliminating tax subsidies for oil and gas, increasing the stock buybacks tax, and he wants to close some tax loopholes and raise the Medicare tax to 5% for those earning more than $400,000.
Meanwhile, and depending if we decide to do this as an extra segment, a lot of the pandemic, stuff implemented for Medicare will now be stripped away. I think if it hasn't already by this weekend, I believe they'll be stripped. So, yeah.
So it's also 400,000. So what bracket is that? Isn't that like second to what's the above 400 bracket?
I don't care because that's a bracket that I'll never, not to say never, but
okay. You ain't in that shit. Okay, cool.
No, so I don't need to worry about that.
These tax increases are small, but show that he is speaking to many who are unhappy with today's huge inequalities, and he is responding to the popularity of the idea that the rich are too rich. I love you, but I know you know better. You know who I'm talking. You know.
No, it's not Molly's fault for this.
No, but Molly, you do know better. Like, I feel you.
But again, at least she's talking about this.
Yes.
No one in mainstream media. Well, they might, but
Right. Like I know. I get you. I know. You don't need that though. Is what I'm saying. You don't need that. These proposed tax increases are meant to counter GOP attacks about the deficit by claiming to reduce the deficit by $3 trillion over 10 years. Do you remember the last time he said stuff like that, Care Bear? Do you remember?
Wait, when is this?
That's the only way you can find room to pay for it.
Oh, yeah.
And to provide a laundry list of social programs. Such programs include restoring the child tax credit, increasing Pell Grants, paid for maternity leave, increasing access to child and elder care, lowering housing costs, making Medicare solvent until the 2050s, and more. It's clear that Biden has to make promises to those who want more social spending and to tax the rich, but despite all those proposals, the only thing we can be sure will pass is Biden's campaign promise that nothing will fundamentally change.
Come on, man.
Like, anyway, despite referring to himself as the most pro-union president in history, and all of his talk about creating union jobs, he's got one union friend. He's got one friend he's got one. He showed up, but he's got that one. It's like, anyway, and all of his talk about creating union jobs, the capitalist state is nothing but a committee for managing the common affairs of the whole bourgeoisie, and Biden's ultimate goal, like all presidents before him, is to ensure the stability of capitalism and the boss's profits. Biden's recent busting of a potential railroad worker strike is just the latest example of where his priorities really lie. Furthermore, much of his pro-worker rhetoric is America first. Chauvinism, which pits U.S. workers against workers in other countries, using phrasing like bringing jobs back home, buy American, Jack, and leading the world in manufacturing. That's that classic. Republicans use that forever.
Right.
They're straight up dog whistles. This is very important to keep in mind in the context of U.S. imperialism's attempt to contain China's growth and decline of U.S. hegemony. Although we should not be under the illusion that a multipolar world will be a more progressive world for working class and oppressed people, we must also fight the racism, xenophobia, and prejudices against Chinese people that have been sweeping the country, fostered by U.S. imperialist interests. Because his role to manage the capitalist state, Biden is calling for even more fundings for the police to keep communities safe and secure, and a support for training in community policing, even adding 100,000 more cops to the streets. He explicitly says that he doesn't want to defund them. Do I need to say that louder for the people in the back?
No.
The police exist to protect private property and to maintain capitalist order, not to keep communities safe. If the unions that he brags about supporting go out on strike, it'll be the police called in to escort the scabs and break the strike. Biden pays lip service to oppressed communities when it is those same police that terrorize black and brown communities. It's not just local police that he's proud to support. Biden and the Democrats fight for immigrants during election season, yet this budget proposal to hire 350 more Border Patrol agents and more processing assistants at CBP, and ICE, $535 million for border technology, among other things. This is a continuation of the crackdown on immigration, as this recent example and others throughout his presidency show. On the White House fact sheet, he even brags about having secured more resources for border security than any of the presidents who preceded him, which we covered last week with Robert Durden.
Yeah.
Yes, Joe Biden is indeed bragging that he wants to arm and militarize the border more than Donald Trump did. Both Democrats and Republicans understood that capitalists need a hyper-exploitable group of workers to boost their profits, a group that is created by violent border policies. As expected, there are proposals for record military and defense spending. This part of the budget is likely to pass. Given the bipartisan support for U.S. imperialism, see Book of Collin, Chapter 4, Verse 2, he requests raising the discretionary budget authority for the Department of Defense to $842 billion, up to 3.2% for Ukraine, NATO, and European allies. Okay, so he requests more than $6 billion, owing to imperialism's ever-increasing focus on containing China's growth and influence. He aims to, quote, invest in new ways to outcompete China and advanced American prosperity globally. Proposals include strengthening U.S. role in the Indo-Pacific by investing $2 billion in order to create an international infrastructure fund, $2 billion for a new equity revolving fund for supporting equity investments, and $2 billion investments to strengthen partner economies. How much? What do you think those are?
$2 billion investments to strengthen partner economies. I don't know. That would be like
Where's his VP at?
I know. Well,
I mean, for the whole of partner economies. That's what I mean.
right, but
He's given $842 billion to NATO and Ukraine.
right. You know, but you mentioned where's his VP at? She was in Africa last week.
Yeah.
But I guess, but
I'm betting
we have
that's
to see.
that's South America and Africa. That's the others. Is $2 billion. So
I think it's just a question of where in Africa.
Yeah.
Specifically, you know, because I'm sure many countries in Africa at this point are just like, fuck you.
So regarding climate change, he touts the Inflation Reduction Act, a bill that actually promotes the expansion of fossil fuel extraction and is a handout to big businesses. His actions against climate change are mostly tax credits and rebates to incentivize green energy production and usage for things like electric vehicles. These are really just
which people can afford anyway, and exploiting places in Africa, which we've also talked about.
Yep. These are really just ways to ensure profits for capitalists in the clean energy sector. To placate the oil and coal bosses, he doesn't forget to mention that we still need oil. Given the U.S. Right, this is them quoting, right? Given that the U.S. military is the planet's biggest polluter, we can be sure that his calls for military spending will worsen the climate crisis. Biden and the Democrats will allow capitalists to continue destroying the planet to fulfill their insatiable need for profits.
Yep, that's in the chat. They don't
Says
think
I'm
you're
not
high enough.
High enough? Yeah. Working on it. Oh. So, while trans people, especially trans youth, are under attack from the far right, Biden made no mention of this in his March 9th speech, possibly to appeal to right-leaning voters. The White House website fact sheet makes only trite nods to equity and to making the promise of America real for every American, as well as adding LGBTQIA plus as an afterthought in social program proposals. He didn't mention reproductive rights either. Yes.
Can you pause there? And I just earlier tonight, having a Twitter, I don't want to even call it discussion, but some person, could be a bot or whatever, was like, regarding the AC burner account, whatever, for the record, don't care. But this person was like, oh, and I said, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene regarding Ukraine, because really, you know, with Nico House, made that the issue regarding AOC is why are you funding, why are you voting to fund Ukraine? Marjorie Taylor Greene, as lonesome as she is, and we can admit that on this show, at least in rhetoric, is right regarding our support of Ukraine in
Mhm.
regards to the money that we're giving them. And this person was just like, how can you say that? You know, like she is against trans people and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And you just mentioned here, what about Biden? He hasn't said
Mhm.
shit about the trans community either. But you don't call him out. It's easy to call out Marjorie Taylor Greene because she is an outright bigot,
Yeah.
you know, but not the president of whom the squad is kowtowing behind. And you've refused to call them out, but you're going to go after like the easy targets. Like, and the sad thing is, this person was like, I get that AOC is not good, but it's not her problem. It's the people above her that are the problem. Yet, Sherlock, we know that.
Yeah,
But
but
her
she's not
job was to
fighting
call
them.
these, right.
Right.
Her job was to call them out and fight them.
Yeah, not
You know?
not get their memos and act in lockstep. Like,
Right.
anyway, terrible.
So yeah, a little rant, but I just had to say it because this was fresh in my mind. But like, and this person was just like, oh, like the squad has done so much for the trans community and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, but working for the trans, and again, I have nothing against the LGBTQ plus community at all, you know, but at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't make a difference at the end of the day if we go to war and we're all dead.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if like minimum wage federally is not being raised, and that affects all of our economic output. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if, you know, we, again, our infrastructure is shit.
Speaking of infrastructure, Biden touted his biggest accomplishments, the American Rescue Plan, and the quote bipartisan, again, see Book of Collin, chapter 4, verse 2, the infrastructure law, and the Inflation Reduction Act. So, aimed at serving the capitalist economy and mitigating the most severe consequences of the neoliberal crisis and the pandemic, not solving the underlying conditions that the masses of workers and oppressed experience under capitalism. Yep. I think this last little bit. In the context of inflation, layoffs, and the banking crisis, it's clear the budget won't be implemented. His list of progressive proposals show that many people want more progressive policies and that he needs to speak to those people, yet he ain't going to deliver. It is essential that as workers, we form our own party and not rely on the capitalist Democrats and their empty promises. We need a working class party that fights for socialism and takes up the struggle of the oppressed, that fights for the demands of workers, and the oppressed, that will actually fight the far right, will fight for reproductive rights and the rights of trans people, and that is truly pro-union and pro-worker. I think that's it.
And you had to end on a depressing note.
Yep. You know.
Can we just have like a news episode?
All good stories?
Yeah.
We can try.
I mean, we should do that anyway, like intentionally try and do like some feel good stories every once in a while. But like,
Sure.
yeah, this is
I
just,
wish there was
I
more
mean,
of them. I'd pulled them, you know?
I,
Like,
you
yep.
know, but I mean, I said it before and I'll say it many, many, many times. The second half of the year, mark my words, and you can quote me on this, is going to be hell.
Way worser.
Well, yeah, because the public emergency regarding the pandemic is over in a month.
Yep.
So, and things are beginning to kind of go back to normal in terms of pre-pandemic and how shit things were then. And now they're returning to that. And like everything has just been on pause for the last 3 years. And now things are going to be kind of dialed back into things as they were prior to March 2020. And it's going to put a hurting on a lot of people still, if not more so. You know, so again, I just kind of fear that there's going to be a lot of hurt and pain from the working class the second half of this year. And, you know, Joe Biden's not going to care. Trump is not going to care. Anyone who's running for president is not going to care. They'll give lip service as to that. but that's what I'm terrified about, is there's going to be more despair in our country. And we're seeing what's happening in France. Paris is literally burning right now, and it's
Yep.
like, when is that going to happen here? Like, I don't know, but yeah, but I think we should at least. So, people in the chat, thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting us and loving us and hitting us with the likes and the shares and the subscriptions to this channel network. But if you got some stories for us that you want us to talk about, especially if they're feel-good ones, send them to us, because as I said, it's kind of depressing, like, to end like this.
You can use hashtag INN News, capital INN, lowercase news. If you want, if y'all want to, anything.
And so, somewhat of a shorter stream. Well, actually, not really, because we got cut in the middle of it. But
yeah.
I'm trying to think, Indy, if you're here, think of any announcements for us. So, is Tara on Friday?
I have no clue yet.
Okay.
Maybe.
How do we miss that on Sunday night?
Yeah.
Kit Cabello from Hardlines Media is going to be on
Coming
with Indy
on.
and Reef.
Yeah.
I think he's going to talk about the Chicago mayoral race. Brandon Johnson, who was the teachers union candidate, ended up winning.
Yeah.
Monday we have Crab and Chris's show, right, Crab?
Should do. He's in the chat somewhere, I think.
Right, and he's on at 9:30. We have Angel's show. He's on at 2:15 Eastern time in the afternoons. Every day, Alabama, right?
Yes.
Doing every day.
He's been trying to, yeah. I think he's put off a few times, but yeah, generally.
And then we'll be back here. Same bat time, same bat channel next week.
Yep.
It'll probably be just us. If we have a guest, we'll let you know. And then stay tuned to this channel for extra stories that we hope to put out by tomorrow. And then obviously the interview with Alex and Jenna will be out probably around the weekend, I would guess.
Yeah.
So check that out, especially if those of you who saw it toward the end and we got cut off this stream.
I mean, luckily we'd been done. Luckily we were literally like, we'll be right back. So, but I'll make sure to hopefully fix that by next time, so that just doesn't randomly happen.
Oh, and I'm sure Crab will want us to say this. I know Indy's mentioned this. We have memberships for this network now.
Yeah.
Or something. So I'm sorry saying it that way, but if you, again, feel free, and we won't push you guys to give money. We love doing this, and
shut up and take my money.
Well, we'll take your money if you have the means to do so, but we don't expect your money. We love you guys just at minimum, just for watching us and supporting us and sharing us. Obviously we want to, build our numbers, but more importantly, we want you guys to watch and share and tell people about us and help us grow that way. But if you are so inclined to help us support the work that we're doing so we can do more of this stuff on a regular basis, please feel free to subscribe to us. Friends who are coming in, glad you're here. Yeah, we're ending, but you can watch the playback for these 2 clips afterward. But yeah, thank you guys for checking us out and watching and doing all the things.
Appreciate you, fam. As always, labels are bad. Stay independent. Good night, fam.
Have a great week, everyone.
We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.